Spiritualist art, also known as mediumistic art, is a form of communication that uses painting in many different forms, that is influenced by those souls who have passed and are no longer of the body. Spirit art is the drawing of portraits, landscapes, and familiar objects belonging to those who have passed into spirit by someone who never knew the deceased souls. Spiritualists believe the arts provide a doorway, gateway, or bridge, inviting us from one energy state to another, enabling us to expand our everyday reality and respond to something that is both greater than ourselves and intimately part of us. Some art has the capacity to shift or even deepen the way we know and live in the world. It is particularly the shift in activity consciousness or knowing through both creating and beholding spiritual art. Join us as our special guest, Meg Wolsifer, spiritualist, associate minister, spirit artist, teacher, and certified clairvoyant medium through the Indiana Association of Spiritualists. During her years of study, she's found a true passion in helping people to get in touch with loved ones who have passed. Meg acts as the channel that allows guides and loved ones to come forward and provide peace, closure, and guidance. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway and your channel for community support, help, friendship, love, knowledge, and being of value to others. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you. And if you are returning, always a pleasure to have you with us as well. And you know what tonight is. It is Friday night, and it's time to feed your mind and grow your heart. And tonight's show is Spiritual Art Expression of Transpersonal Knowing. In other words, spirit art. And let's see. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Teresa real quick. She's going to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll say hello to everybody in chat, and we're going to get this party started.
Yeah, give everybody a chance to roll in, right?
Yeah.
Happy Friday and greetings, everyone, and welcome, Meg. It's so good to see you again. And we're honored to have you with us. We really are. And had a great time with Meg in Indiana. Brian and I really did enjoy their company. And Rev Charles is in the chat room. So say hello to Rev Charles.
Hey, Charles.
He's featured in our video
loving that Leslie
tonight.
Flint stuff. I'm loving Leslie Flint, by the way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. He told you to check her out. Oh,
yes. No, him.
Him.
Yeah. It's all good. He knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about now. All right. Okay. So, you folks, I know you do. For those listening and those who are not in the active chat room and those who will be listening later, do you really know the difference between magicians and genuine mediums? Do you? The magician's goal is to manipulate objects in a covert fashion so the action's not even noticed, right? And this was referred back in the day as being a juggler. A magician is someone who performs magic tricks to amuse the audience. A conjurer, an illusionist, a prestidigitator, sleight of hand artist, right? And conjuring was quite rampant in the 19th and early 20th centuries, a time when magicians eagerly appropriated new optical, mechanical, and electrical technologies into their acts. And also at this time, a modern style of conjuring emerged, characterized by a minimal amount of trickery and a natural manner of performance, so as to deceive you even more so. Now, many of these people infiltrated spiritualist organizations, attempting to pass themselves off as mediums to make money, swindling unsuspected participants and giving spiritualists a bad rap. Okay? The great 19th century stage French magician Jean-Robert Houdin, who protested spiritualism as a fraud, actually wrote in his own Secrets of Conjuring and Magic in 1868. He said, quote, "A conjurer," talking about magicians, "is not a juggler, he's an actor, playing the part of a magician, an artist whose fingers have more need to move with deftness than with speed. I may even add that where sleight of hand is involved, the quieter the movement of the performer, the more readily all the spectators be deceived. Now, a devoted spiritualist who attended a magician's recreation of a spiritualist medium's activity in an attempt to debunk the authenticity of the medium's experience contrasted the magician's performance with that of a genuine medium as follows. The wizard magician John Henry Anderson's best performance are utterly insignificant when compared with the spiritual phenomenon of the tangible spirit hand, which is seen and felt in some of our circles. There is this remarkable difference also between this so-called wizard magician and the genuine medium. The wizard is a professed deceiver of the senses. He knows all the means by which he deceives, and he knows beforehand all the phenomena which are to occur at an exposition. But a genuine spiritual medium professes to accomplish nothing. Even in the case of the simple raps during a seance, he doesn't know how they're produced. At a given sitting, he does not know what specific phenomena is to be expected. Our mediums do their best, things unconsciously. The wizard magician does his best things by studied art. Spirit energy through artistic expression is not jungling, nor is it conjuring people. It's not the practice of illusion. This understanding is more evident now as a result of our visit to the Het Gallery Museum at Camp Chesterfield with Rev Charles and others. The late 19th century and early 20th century spiritualists, as Brian and I could see from their work, genuinely believed that the arts provided that doorway, gateway, or bridge that Lori was talking about in the opening video, enabling us to expand our everyday reality and respond to something that's both greater than ourselves and intimately part of us. These early pioneers, and that's what they were, folks, early pioneers, recognizing that some art has the capacity to shift or deepen the way we know and live in our world. And that is particularly the shift in the activity consciousness or knowing through both creating and beholding spiritual art. They paved the way for all of us to suspend our disbeliefs and judgments and freely participate in what is known as the noetic quality of a mystical experience, meaning to enjoy a sense of revelation, to invoke a partnership with spirit versus commanding or demanding, or this is the act of bringing together the spirit with human and our spirit, our soul, to recall a feeling, a memory, or an image to our conscious minds, and to experience a spirit or deity as a witness for inspiration, guidance, and help. So we are very, very blown away by what we experienced and what we saw in that museum. And the energy there just comes to life, and it really opens you up to understanding what these mediums are trying to do, how they're trying to help serve others, and connect people with their loved ones and deceased ones, and bring information to the surface that might help trigger people into remembering parts of their own past lives and experiences. So we're really happy to have Meg here with us tonight to share some of her experiences, why she does what she does as an associate minister, and some of her own personal artwork, as well as video clips that we're going to show you with Rev Charles of the museum and some of these different art formats. Now, we have about 8 or 9 different types of art that we'll talk about. I don't know if we'll get around to all of them, but there are a few in particular that will just totally transform the way you think about the spirit world and what spirit is able to accomplish. Sound good to the rest of you? We'll have some fun with it.
You betcha. Yep, you bet.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, Lori, I'll bounce it back to you.
All right, let's go ahead and acknowledge everyone in chat. Hey, beloved abstract, good to see you. Deborah Sloan, always a pleasure. Charles, good to see you. Karen, Queen of Courts, good to see you. CC Schaefer, good to see you as well. Thanks for being here. Let's see who else we've got. Black Raven, how the heck are you, Black Raven? Awesome, good to see you. Mark, the Arc Spark, good to see you as well. Let's see who else. Scroll. Got
Grumpy's in
it.
here.
Grumpy Stack is here. Good to see
bud.
you.
Hey, bud.
Awesome. Yeah. And Mary Wins, good to see you. Tracy Free, good to see you as well. Thanks for being
Hey,
here.
girlfriend.
Greatly appreciate you all. Lucky Stone, good to see you as well.
Hey, bud.
Awesome. Floyd,
Lucky.
good to see you. I think that about gets everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. There's a lot going on tonight. Okay, yeah, I think that's everybody. We're good to go. All right. So, Teresa, what would you like to start with?
Well, I would like to start by giving Meg a few moments of her time to tell us a little bit about herself. And first, I want Sophia to answer this question. Sophia.
Oh, no.
You came up with this idea for this show, and it was a catalyst for the rest of us to want to really come out there.
Yes.
Not only to see Camp Chesterfield, but also All My Relations and visit with Jim and Heather. But you had a specific reason long before we even knew about this festival. You said, I have somebody I'd like to bring on and introduce, and her name is Meg. And I said, well, what does Meg do? And she says, Meg is a spirit artist. I'm like, what?
Yep.
So what are you trying to do here?
Well, I would say those of us that are unfolding with our abilities, I would say being around people that are very good at things and spending time with them, having the privilege to spend time with somebody and just to have commonalities. It's like when you meet somebody, it's like you can feel commonality. And then when you hang out with them a little bit longer, you're like, like attracts like, natural law. Let's talk about it. And I've dabbled in some spirit art, some automatic writing, and some other things. And I'm still enchanted with Camp Chesterfield. It may never wear off, and that's okay. And I'm fascinated by spirit art. It's kind of like, for me, like sign language. It doesn't have to be vocal to be profound, although there's a message that goes with most of the time. But I love Meg, and I love what she does, and I felt kind of selfish keeping it to myself, to be honest. So there it is. Now we know.
I love that.
For the record. So, yep, that's it. And I took some classes with her. I am getting ready to test for Seeker, which is a level of proficiency at the college. And I took meditation, which was awesome. We had such a great time. And communication, and that really helped my public speaking and coming out here live on the internet.
Coming out of the spiritual closet, huh?
Great, I know. But anyway, enough about me. This is my lovely friend, Meg.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, hello, Amber, and hello, Pajo. Welcome. Meg, why don't you tell us a little bit about, now, Brian and I got to know you a little bit that day, but tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you got into the spiritualist movement, and what your purpose is.
Those are a lot of questions. Okay. Hi, I'm Meg.
Tell us what you want, Meg.
Perfect. That's where we're going to go. That's where we're going to go. I am blessed to know Sophia. I'm ever so grateful that she came into my life when she did, and that I am now part of her journey and she is part of mine. So thank you for inviting me onto the show. Thank you, everybody, for having me. So about myself, I'm relatively new to spiritualism in general. I've really only been studying mediumship and connecting with spirit since 2016. So really, that is like yesterday. That is not that long. But the moment that I walked through those gates of Camp Chesterfield, like so many before me, I knew that I had found my place and my home and people that were like me. And I wanted to be like a sponge and soak everything in. And I wanted to do everything right now. And of course, as I tell my students now, we can't do that, right? We're given the things that we're given as we're supposed to receive them. But, you know, my background before that, I have a mother who always supported me in the arts. And so I grew up painting and drawing. I went to college for photography. So art has always been part of my life. And then I went to the museum and I saw spirit art and I went, okay. I was like, I am 100%
You're sold.
in.
I get it.
How do I make this happen? What do I need to do? And of course it was, well, you need to work on, you know, your mediumship and connecting, and fine, we'll work on that. And I did. And I was blessed to have a teacher who was also a spirit artist who was willing to work one-on-one with me, where he would literally sit in meditation and he would send me a guide or a loved one, and I would draw something. I drew some portraits for him. I drew objects, and I was like, all right, we've got that connection, and I've just kind of let it grow from there. The funny thing about art in general, and of course spirit art falls in that, is that it's never for yourself. Art is always for others, and doing it this way, it really is. The pieces that everybody will see are just ones that I happen to take pictures of. I have done so much more that it was never for me. And now a few of them are. Spirit was like, okay, some of these you get to keep, Meg. I was like, yes, very exciting. But, you know, I mostly do it for others. And I will tell you that, yes, I've done commissioned pieces where people specifically ask me to do something for them. But normally it's in service to Camp Chesterfield, to the church, and I create pieces and they always belong to somebody. Spirit never lets me down in that way. And so I've experimented with a multitude of different formats of doing spirit art. I have more that I'm getting ready to start working on that is brand new. So it is ever changing, and I just listen, and I listen to what they tell me, and I'm like, all right, we'll make it happen. So that's me in a nutshell. And I will hopefully be ordained in October. That is the goal. And then the Reverend will fit. Then the Reverend will fit.
Yes, that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do some teaching now though too, right? You help out with classes. You do some scheduled teaching.
Yes, I teach for Camp Chesterfield. The classes that we have here, I teach electives. Sophia was at our spirit art weekend, so we did a whole weekend around spirit art. And then I also have development classes that I hold in my home for people that are searching. It's fantastic.
Yes, I like your uniquely Meg sign on the door of your cottage. That's not really a cottage. That's a nice home.
It's very descriptive of who I am. I definitely broke the mold coming to camp. I would say that I opened that door for unique people to also feel safe and welcome being here.
Right on. That's great. Also, that art that's behind you was done by you yourself, wasn't it?
Yes, that's my lovely mandala.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about copper paint or...
Yes, so it is infused with copper, and so it's got that beautiful reflection.
It really does.
It's very powerful. It's my little gateway that sits directly behind me in my room.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Very cool.
Excellent.
Very cool. Well, we hope that you'll be able to give us some insight as Charles is going around and explaining things to us in these video clips. We're going to show excerpts or bits and pieces, and we can interrupt and come back and discuss them. But there seems to be, just so the folks in the chat room know and the folks that are watching with us, there's like 3 main sections of this gallery, and it is the most comprehensive collection of spirit art I think anyone has ever pulled off. I don't know that much, but I do know that it's a huge repository. They have collected art from all over the country and even other parts of the world. Mm-hmm. They have objects in there that are apports that come through during a seance. They have all of the pioneers of the spiritualist movement, a lot of their clothing and personal items, but it's the artwork that they've amassed, this huge portion of art from various different formats, impressionism to surrealistic art, spirit portraits, which we'll talk a little about, autographs, photography, you name it, they've managed to pull it together at Camp Chesterfield. And, it's a lot to maintain. It is.
I'm sure it is.
And there's probably stuff in inventory that they don't even have out yet,
That's very true. That's very true.
All they charge is a fee of $10 to go on a tour, and that helps them with their budget to maintain it. And Brian and I ran into a lady who lives there, and she was saying there's been less people in the past couple of years because of the situation this country was in with you know what, and they ended up having less crowds, and they're not making as much and had to let some things go for a while. Now they've restored the fountain and other things they're working on. But that museum is so critical and so important. So we have a link in our YouTube description page that talks about the museum and where you can go and you can make donations. Send in $5 or $10, give a love offering, whatever you can give. It's Charles's time that he spent with us. It's Meg's time, and all of them have come on here on a couple of our shows now. We'd like to help them out. So if you have it in your heart, Spirit moves you, just take a look at their website when you get a chance and send in a little love offering, because it will help keep this going. And you'll see why this is so wonderful in just a few moments. But we're going to go ahead and start with the beginning of the tour, and you'll hear Charles explaining things, and then we'll pause it and kick some things around and give you all a chance to ask some questions too. How's that sound, Meg? Sound good?
Perfect.
Yep.
And also, if any of your art, now Meg has a few art pieces that she wants to show us of her work, and it was related to some of the things that are going on, and you'll let us know when you want to bring that in. I think the third room is a good place for that, but there's other places that you might feel it's more appropriate, and I'll leave that up to you, Meg. Okay? And
right.
Charles is in there in the chat room, so yeah, he'll be
Yes.
able to answer some questions if anybody comes up with anything. Go ahead, Lori.
So this is coming in the front door of the gallery. So here we go.
Art gallery where they're supposed to have a lot of the spirit art. I love the lions. Guess you pay when you go in there. In memory of our loved one, Margaret and Virginia Stevens. So they have a necklace somebody left there. Cool lion. One on either side. Beautiful. Here's the hotel, the Western Hotel. Say what?
Guess I'll leave my coffee out here.
Yeah, good idea. Spirit Fest. Vendors, readers. September. Oh, that's for September. Museum entry fee, $10 per person. Okay, so I guess we make it when we go in.
Just to show you the front of the front of the gallery,
Yep.
what it looks like. Now, this next clip will be in the portrait room for spirit portraits. And you're going to see a lot of religious art, but that's during the heyday, a lot of them from that background.
Oh, right. Now, you see, I do that too. A lot of people don't. They go right for the paint, but I sketch mine out first.
You know what I find?
Charcoal.
What I find interesting about this one, it looks like up here, it looks like that might be a turkey.
Yeah.
But then once it actually comes together, it looks like it's a beautiful peacock.
Peacock.
And you'll find some differences from the preliminary drawing to the actual final product, especially on the one to your left. The sketch on top in the top right corner shows an angel holding a baby,
Yeah.
but in the final piece there's an angel holding on to this gentleman here.
Instead of the baby. She changed her mind.
Or spirit inspired or
Spirit.
impressed her to do something quite different. So we know that this is Joseph and Mary in the manger with the baby. And so, and if you look at the piece on top and slight variations and differences.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no face.
Exactly.
Right there. There's no face up in
Well,
there.
and it
no
looks like there
star.
might be just like a solid panel wall and the one above with a little doorway. But then here you can see that there's a window here, some openings, an angel with a star pouring through, and then some.
You know what? When you get that message, incoming message, which is what this is, the inspiration, it sets the stage in your mind and your thought for what's coming through. And then as you start applying,
Absolutely, and with
it gets stronger, the message.
and if you look up here at this preliminary drawing, it's told that this was inspired by Leonardo da Vinci. And so if you look at what looks like this signature here, it's actually a mirror image. So it's actually written from right to left. And Leonardo da Vinci was often known to write
Oh, so maybe
with
he
his
was
left
coming
hand
through?
from right to left. And so this was inspired by him, according to.
So his spirit may have been coming through to her.
And this was done in 1954. Some of them actually have dates on them. This
Look
one
at this.
also
This is
1954.
this,
Probably a lamb of some kind with probably
touching the,
an aura. Probably this is the aura of the energy and maybe giving a blessing.
because up there it's not existent.
Exactly.
But she stayed true to the angel here, yeah. And
Yes.
look at this coming through.
Yes.
Ha ha ha. To me, it's different spirits coming through.
Well,
Maybe
we know
guides.
The word angel is Latin from messenger.
Right.
So angels, messengers, spirit guides. Absolutely. There's even a little cow peeking in from
I see the cow.
the outside.
Well, you can't have a manger without animals.
Well, truly. Truly.
Wow, she just is astonishing.
Absolutely incredible. And so these three here, these three, and these three, well, all of this, all these on this wall. So there was a gentleman by the name of Professor Luis Carciolo out of Urbino, Italy. He was a master artist, but he was also a copyist.
Giovanni,
Pardon?
influenced by Giovanni.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just know that he was a copyist, so these 9 pieces are actually exact copies or reproductions that he painted that was commissioned by our secretary, Reverend Mabel Riffle. And so the originals of these are actually housed in galleries in Europe.
Wow.
So he was a professional artist and a copyist. And then these 2 pieces.
So he copied his own work to reproduce them?
No, these are done by other, like Raphael and Greco and some of those others.
Right.
These are major works, not originally done by him, but he copied them so that we could have.
Well, he sure did a great job, my God.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
See, I would have said Giovanni,
Possible.
but Raphael makes sense too. This one,
I mean, they are absolutely incredible.
aren't they though?
I mean, it takes a lot of
Astonishing.
skill to be able to copy
Someone else's work, yeah.
somebody else's work to the exact detail.
Well, if you're tapping into their spirit and they're with you,
Now, yes, that is absolutely true. Now, these 2 pieces here, Joan of Arc and the Praying Woman, are his original artworks.
these are his.
Yes, so he did those. Those are his original works.
Quite the artist.
It's amazing.
This is, I've never seen this before. Would that be Herod?
No, I think that's a feast of Nebuchadnezzar, maybe.
Nebuchadnezzar, okay. Oh, the card is down below. Yeah. Don't worry, Charles.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Lori, can you
Balthasar's
just pause it
feast.
for a second?
Yep.
Just you can leave it up there. I just want to say real quick, this psychic painting, it's a spirit control, I think. And tell me if I'm wrong, Charles, but didn't you mention that they're producing the drawings by physically allowing spirit to work through them and take over their bodies? So they're holding the brushes, they're using the instruments, they're creating the art, but they're creating it through spirit because they're sharing their presence, their consciousness in an almost semi-unconscious way, because as a medium, they are the channel to allow this spirit to come in. And so they're able to create, and this copyist, for example, is able to do it with such great detail and great precision because of the spirit that's channeling through them could actually be the spirit of that artist that created the original paintings. That's, I guess, one theory.
That's interesting.
Am I right, Meg?
I would agree with you. Yes. Yeah.
And during those times, in the beginning of the spiritualist movement, a lot of them came from a Christian background. A lot of them came from the church and were breaking free from the constraints and reforming the way they think, opening to spirit, awakening, and allowing themselves to experience things in a new way that was strictly outside of the purview of a religious institution. But their state of consciousness, just like David Null and I will see visions of Mary, a guide that we call Mary, it's because we came from that background. And so we have talked on this show before. The spirit will often manifest itself to you in a form that it knows you can understand and relate to. So a lot of these artists are early spiritual artists that are doing this, are connecting with Renaissance artists and Baroque period. And so they're reproducing the masters of art that they're channeling onto canvas. Go ahead, Lori.
I would
Card
go
is
even
down
a
below.
step further with that.
Yeah?
I would
Go ahead,
a
Meg.
step. I would go a step further and say that every artist is inspired by spirit, whether they are conscious of it or not.
I agree
So
with
even
you.
those master artists were inspired by spirit when they, got that little nugget of inspiration.
Definitely. Divinely guided. Yeah. Fascinating.
Agree.
Don't worry,
Thank you,
Charles.
I'm sorry, Balthasar's feast. Balthasar.
Ah.
That did not
Okay.
end well for him, FYI, kids.
I've never seen this painting before.
Yeah, so it was originally done by Jose Rivera.
That's why.
Not a
I'm
happy
not
ending.
familiar. Jose Rivera.
Rivera, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
And this one's the call of Samuel, because we know the story goes that Samuel was called a few times, and I can't remember who he was with, because his mother, I believe Hannah, wanted a baby so bad, so she said to God, if you grant me a child, then once a child comes of age, I will offer him up to the temple to live in there. And so she was granted a baby, and then so he went to the temple to live once he got a certain age. And so at night he was called a few times, and he thought that the priest had called him, so he got up and went to the priest, and the priest said, I did not call you. And so after the second or third time, the priest finally said, okay, you are obviously being called by God, so the next time that you hear a voice call out to you, ask basically God what it is that you need. And so that was, yeah. So the Call of Samuel by Julius von Schnorr, depicting angels appearing and calling Samuel from the temple.
Wow. See the horn as always.
So most likely Gabriel's trumpet or Gabriel's, because we know a horn is signifying either annunciation, a message, communication of some kind.
Yep.
In spiritualism, we have the spirit trumpet,
Yep.
which we have some on the other side, which I'll show you as well.
Oh, cool.
Oh, we have lots of them.
You were telling us about that on the show.
Oh, yes.
Ah, Meg has one. Let's
Heck
take a look at
yeah.
that, Meg.
Meg
Yeah.
has lots.
Yeah, hang on.
Nice.
Let me see if I
We'll
can
get the good one.
expand you. There we go. Go ahead, Meg.
There you go.
Woo! That is
Nice.
big.
So this one was Reverend Louise Irvins, and she
Nice.
was a phenomenal trumpet medium. She lived in this house previously.
Oh, and that came
So.
with it, huh?
Yes, it did. It did come with it.
Wow. Jeez.
That's awesome.
That's a big one, Meg. That's huge.
Yes.
Well, and so they're collapsible, and so when you're beginning, you just start with a tiny piece, and then you work your way up to the full trumpet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right?
I have 3 or 4 spirit trumpets of my own at home as well.
God, this is just incredible work.
Yeah, so this is depicting when St. Peter was freed, and originally done by William Hilton.
All of these artists are inspired by the classics.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, all of them, Raphael, Giovanni, Leonardo. But it's the attention to the human body and form. Yeah, that's beautiful.
And another one of my favorite pieces is over here.
Oh my gosh, it's the Last Supper.
It is. So this was done through the mediumship of a medium by the name of Fred Phillips, who was originally from Detroit, Michigan, under the guidance of his spirit guide, Dr. Fontaine. And so this is charcoal on butcher block paper.
Wow.
So it took about 2.5 years to complete this. And if you get up really close, you can see all that amazing detail done completely under the direction of his spirit guide.
What a spirit guide.
Absolutely.
Even the wallpapering.
Yes, even the wallpaper looks incredible.
A lot of
The
detail.
folds in the robes.
Oh yes, you can even see under the table the detail in their feet as well.
Gotta check
Yeah.
all that.
Now, this one is supposed to be John, but it's coming out as Magdalene. He also got the feminine
I think
touch here.
Was it supposed to be Peter?
This one here,
Yeah, was it?
no, it was supposed to be his beloved John. And people are saying it was actually Magdalene, Lady Magdalene.
That's-
Mary Magdalene.
That is talent right there. To do that in charcoal.
And charcoal? Yeah, tell me about it. Because the folds, the three-dimensional quality to it, no smearing.
Amazing.
He took time. No wonder it took so long. Look at this one over here.
We a happy bunch at Camp Chesterfield.
Yeah, I'll say.
It's all because of Charles. It's all because of Charles.
Do you know how unusual it is to find an artist who can paint in the old style like that and still come away with the kind of perfection that the masters? That's, look at Jesus.
Just amazing.
Okay, so she's got the wounds in her hands. You see this? This is the miracle where they feel the empathy and they feel the, I
Stigmata.
forget what it's called.
Stigmata.
Stigmata. She's got the stigmata.
On the rocks.
Well, she's got the stigmata
Who's she? Oh, the,
on her hands. The
very
cross.
interesting.
Yeah. Look at that. Incredible details on everything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. In this blank wall space, we're going to be putting a portrait of Ethel Post Parrish, who was a medium here in the early 1900s, who then left here, moved to Florida, tried to open up a church down there. Obviously, summertime it gets really, really hot, and so then by invitation of one of her parishioners, she actually moved to Ephrata, Pennsylvania, and opened up Camp Silverbell.
That's it of that one.
Yeah. Now you see, did you notice that the details, everything meant something to what was being expressed in that painting? Not only from the original painter, but that was not a copyist. That was actually someone who painted that scene, right, Charles? So they were moved by whatever spirit that artist was moved by in order to get that flow and get all that symbology, the cross, Jesus, the stigmata, detail, detail, detail. Sometimes it's been said that sometimes the folks that are doing this have had no art training whatsoever. Let me repeat that. They've never had an art class. They didn't grow up doing art from day one. They stepped into it when they opened to spirit. And spirit guides them to create these masterpieces. And they've never had any formal training whatsoever to get that kind of quality. It's just amazing what spirit can do, right? Okay, so the next section, we're going to go into an area of this art that's just freaking mind-blowing. And
It's my favorite room.
Me too.
Yeah. Yes, it's precipitation, precipitative art. And Charles will explain it to you. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who don't know yet. I'll let Charles explain it and then we'll talk about it a little bit. But it is a wondrous place to be in. And I'm hoping that you'll pick up on the same energies that we did when we were there in person, because it's going to blow your freaking minds.
Ah,
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Spirit art as well.
Yep.
Oh, spirit
That's
art.
right.
So yeah, definitely go ahead and
Sorry
take
about my
photos.
mug.
So this wall behind you is dedicated to the spirit art of a medium by the name of Frances McVeigh. She was
Wow.
an actual trained artist, and if you look at the portrait in the middle,
That's her?
that is a self-portrait of her. Now, she was right-handed, but when spirit worked through her to influence her spirit art, it was all done left-handed with her non-dominant hand.
Oh, you're kidding.
So all along this wall, at eye level, is what she calls her Saint series. And her mother, from the spirit world, told her to do and paint the Saint series. So working with her guide, Mira Koshipska, they did all of these works.
Wow.
So we've got the three Georges over here, St. George, George Washington Carver, and...
Let's see George Washington.
Yeah, so St. George, George Washington Carver, and another George that escapes me at the moment. George Washington. So George Washington Carver,
that.
George Washington, and St. George. Absolutely.
I love how she swirls these colors, and there's texture.
Oh, absolutely.
Lots of texture, too.
Oh, truly. And so the
This is
portrait
Lily
just
Dean's
about of
gallery.
that nun,
This isn't
Sister
the
Mary,
precipitated
is
art
also
room.
done with
Yeah, I'm putting a note in there
another
now about
spirit
it.
guides.
She has
We'll get
Mary
there.
also as
Now,
a spirit guide.
Sister Mary, so it's
Huh?
different nuns from
Energy,
different orders. And this red feather is also one of her spirit guides here.
Okay. So she has an Indian spirit guide in here too.
Yes. And this over here is one of her master teachers, O'Mary. That is her master teacher guide that she also drew.
Wow.
Can we pause this for just a second,
Incredible
Lori?
detail.
Sure can. Sorry, guys, I do have the wrong clip.
No, that's okay. It's a continuation of the first one. The third
Right.
clip will be the precipitative art room, but it's okay because what was interesting to me about this particular art is it reminded me a lot of the surrealism, the modern surrealism, and maybe a precursor to surrealism, and also some impressionist work as well. But it's a form of, I think it's a combination of a form of automatic drawing and coloring. And it's described here as psychic painting, drawings produced by mediums and practitioners of psychic arts, originated with Anna Mary Howitt, and it's distinguished from Surrealist Automatism, which is another way of getting your downloads, geometric shapes and patterns, but this is more lifelike. And so it's like somewhere between actual portrait art and images that you might get on an aurograph, which we'll show later. But it's the beginning. I think the spiritualists were paving a way of a new modern way of doing art form. That's what I got from this. And they were connecting with their guides. So even though the art is always for someone else, it's very personal for the artist, because it would be the equivalent of Lori working with Eric to create a painting or a drawing of symbols that she understands, and then sharing it with others to bring a message forth to other people. So whoever the viewer is, the observer of this art, will get something different from it. Like Sophia might get something entirely different than I do from looking at the piece. But there's different messages being communicated to us through that download that this artist is getting. So we'll be out of here soon and into the precipitative art room. Go ahead, Lori. Anybody else want to
Absolutely.
follow up?
And it shows up much
Meg?
nicer on the camera. But
Did you want to
Now-
add anything, Meg?
Yes. Now, the next time you venture out, and especially all of her artwork and anybody else that goes, really take a moment and look past what she actually drew, because there's so much more in there. You will find faces and other imagery that was never even thought of, that is 100% spirit putting itself in the pictures. Especially on this one. This one is full of it.
Well, you know, that's very, very much impressionistic, and that art movement in the late 19th century, they were experimenting with light, color, and spirit knows how to use light and energy and color to convey a message, not only through the symbolism, but through the wavelengths in the art and the light. And there are like Picasso and Monet and Renoir, Van Gogh, and even modern spiritualists. And we're going to show some other works after we get through these video clips that are going to show you what some of the people in our community have produced as well. But that it acts on your psychology. I did see some faces that I went, whoa, to in one of those, and I think he hasn't gotten to it yet, but it was kind of like all these different spirits were coming through at one time. This, right, Brian? Did you get that feeling?
Oh, yes. Especially that wall right there, the energy that was coming off of them paintings was something that I'd never felt before. It was actually beautiful.
That's fascinating. So you can actually feel the energy, just that kinetic energy that resides in the paintings. Fascinating. Okay, Teresa, here's the precipitation clip.
Yay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Talk about feeling energy in a room.
Oh, exactly.
Very prominent in the
Here
late
we go,
1800s,
kids.
early 1900s. So everything that you see at eye level is a precipitated portrait done completely by spirit, no human hands touched.
What?
No human hands created these. These are all precipitated portraits. You know, in the Bible, where it says the writing on the wall, how a hand out of the spirit realm appeared to do the writing on the wall.
Are you serious?
So everything at eye level was done completely by the hands and energy of spirit. Now, the Bang sisters may have either touched the side of the canvas or held the canvas, but all of the pigmentation, the colors,
Swirled together to create.
the faces appeared solely and completely by spirit.
I have never.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
the first I've ever heard of that.
Yep, so these portraits were precipitated in the late 1800s, perhaps early 1900s, under the mediumship and test conditions by mediums Lizzie and May Banks. So they at one time did live here on grounds at 421 Grand View, which is currently owned by Professor Todd J. Leonard. Now, they were also known to have done the precipitated portraits on their porch in full daylight, also on the stage in the auditorium, and many other public demonstrations. I do believe that they have visited Lilydale. I know Lilydale has a few of their precipitated portraits, the one of Abraham Lincoln, and I do believe another one of a spirit guide by the name of Azur. And then there are a few precipitated portraits at Golden Gate Spiritualist Church in San Francisco. But from what I understand, we have the largest collection of precipitated portraits done by
I guess. Rev Charles.
Yes.
Her eyes follow me no matter where I go.
Yeah, I believe that's probably true.
Seriously.
So
She's staring at me right now, and no matter where. She's staring at me right now, no matter where I go. There's something so freaking familiar about her, too.
And so what's interesting about these, so when the Bank sisters got to a point where they didn't need the cover,
Yeah?
the canvas, so when they started to precipitate, you would see a vaporous smoke-like substance start to appear around where the eyes were, and then it would start to move over the canvas, and the image would start to appear, and at that point, the eyes were still closed, but when it was completely finished, just the point of completion, the eyes would open, and it would be complete.
I mean, I'm telling you, who is this? Because I know this.
So this is Audrey Elford.
Audrey Elford. I'm getting chills right down the back of my spine. August 1911. Placed on an easel.
So it looks like Mabel Riffle, Ethel Parrish, and Fanch Harwood Dorsch were cousins of Mrs. Elford.
Wow. Just looks so freaking familiar to me.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And this one is Dr. Sharp, a spirit guide of a medium out of Detroit by the name of Ada Wright. Now, Ada Wright did travel around the world. She went and visited England a few times, in Europe. What was the gentleman's name? Admiral Usborne Moore actually sat with her a few times. Admiral also sat with another one of our precipitation mediums by the name of Pierre Keeler, and probably also the Bank sisters, since they were very, very well known. So we have a large, extensive collection of the Bank sisters' precipitated portraits.
Yeah, this one over here could be a dead ringer for my sister Darlene. I have a photo of her that looks identical, and cousin Sharon. They just have that time period probably,
Oh, absolutely.
but the features are remarkable. You know, some of these look at the twins here. Look at their eyes.
Oh, absolutely. Now,
It's almost photograph quality.
well, yes. I mean, photograph quality before there were photographs.
That's true. No kidding.
So the material that makes up the artwork on here was analyzed by a scientific laboratory. and they couldn't find a matching substance that exists on the planet, but the closest relative that they could find was very close to the powder that's on butterfly wings.
Oh my gosh, like fairy dust.
Basically, spirit dust.
Spirit dust.
Absolutely. So for this one, Dr. Doherty, and this is his wife, Lizzie. So when he sat for this portrait, his wife appeared, and then he asked why couldn't Mary and Christina come. And so just a few moments later, then his twin girls appeared on the portrait.
Wow.
And Dr. Doherty, his portrait's on there, but he was not in spirit at the time. So originally it was just...
Pause this, Lori. Okay, Charles, you all just heard this about a test that was made on the canvas to find out what the pigments were that were being used to produce this lifelike art. And Charles mentioned the closest thing that came to it was the components found on a butterfly's wings. So, Charles, I just had to go for that. I just had to go look that up. And I was having fun with it. At first I looked up, fairy dust and some of the legends and lore applied to fairy dust being used to access magical powers like the ability to fly, the ability to shrink the size of objects and beings, the power to cancel out magical powers of other beings, and lastly but not least, the ability to manipulate reality to transform any object or any being into something else. Now, they say there's a baseline for all myths, right? But butterflies are also frequently found in Egyptian tombs. Do we know why? They have scenes, both at rest and flying above and within papyrus thickets, along with other natural wildlife, but these images were not created for the general public. They were created in sacred, underground, in tombs. It's because they believed the images of butterflies had a magical function to help sustain the spirit of the deceased in the afterlife. Okay? And butterfly wings are made up of thin layers of proteins called chitin, K-A-I-T-N, and are supported by a system of tubular veins that allows for oxygen exchange. The wings are then covered by an intricate system of tiny little scales that give butterflies their unique color and pattern variations. And many types of butterflies use light interacting structures on their wing scales to produce color. The cuticle of the scales of these butterfly wings is composed of what is called nano and microscale transparent chitin and air layered structures. Okay? It's one of nature's most common organic molecules, this chitin. It's found in insect and crustacean exoskeletons as well, and in the beaks of squid and octopi, and in the walls of certain types of fungus. The molecule fibers are composed of chains of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, and hydrogen atoms. These are is what life is made of, is it not, here in this planet? But it also means it's very strong, and researchers have tried to replicate both optical and structural properties of these butterfly wings to design new solar cells and optical sensors, rain and heat resistant surfaces, and even paper currency patterned with iridescent encryptions to discourage counterfeiting. You with me, folks? Knowing what process butterflies harness to grow their scales can help to further direct bio-inspired technology development. And of course, carbon is one of the Earth's most common elements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carbon atoms can combine with other elements to form different types of molecules, from simple carbon dioxide to complex, large-changed molecules like chitin. Sheets of carbon atoms can also form carbon nanotubes, and the lightness and strength of these tiny tubes have inspired both practical advances such as super miniaturized electronics and fantastic new ideas like elevators to space. But here's what gets me. They absorb wavelengths of light. They reflect others. And a university student, Chandra, has devised an entirely new kind of paint inspired by these butterfly wings. This so-called paint is called plasmonic paint. Plasmonic paint uses nanoscale particles to create different colors without requiring multiple pigments. Based the planetonic paint on butterfly wings, which have a property known as structural color. So right now it's only used in small quantities. They don't know how to make it in large quantities, but if spirit can do it, humans can replicate it. What do you all think about that? That's some science, right, Lori?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Science is proving that is what it is. So there's something to this. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
the other thing I wanted to share just briefly, I won't go into it in great detail. I didn't make the connection at the time because Charles was touring. There were other people coming in and out, and my mind was just spinning the whole time from this because I'd never heard this precipitative art. So I was just totally blown away, and I was excited, and I didn't make the connection. But on the way to meet Grandpa Brian at his cabin, I stopped off in Greenville, or Green. There's two Green. You're in Greenville, Indiana, Brian, or something. And I was in a different Green. I was not too far from you. But I was at a rest stop. And I came out of the bathroom and I saw these grandparents with their two grandchildren, and they were little girls. They were twins. They were blonde hair, blue-eyed, maybe about a year older than these two, maybe 2 years older. And they were fascinated by me, and I don't know why, because all I did was walk by them. And one little girl said, "Oh my God, ask her if she has wings." And the other little girl's like, "Do you have wings too? You're so beautiful. You have wings?" And I'm like, they can't be talking to me. So I'm looking over my shoulder and I'm looking around and there's nobody there but me. And I just looked at the little girl and I said, "No, sweetie, I don't have wings." And the grandmother's like, now, girls, now, leave the nice lady alone. And I said, "Oh, that's okay. They're not bothering me." She goes, "They have a very active imagination." I said, "That's okay. Most children do." He comes out with these drinks in his hand, and one of the little girls says to him, "Look, Grandpa, look at the pretty lady. She's so pretty. Do you see her wings?" And he says, "Well, yes, I do. I do indeed." So they got in their car and they were going around to their car and getting into the car, and I was waving and smiling at them, just being really nice. And she rolled the window down and she says, "I'm terribly sorry." I said, "Oh, not at all. That's quite all right. They're lovely children, and I can see where they get their curiosity from him. They have his exact smile and everything about him." So we talked just a little bit, and she leaned her head out the window, and she said, "Thank you for taking the time to talk to them." And I got a message right then and there from Spirit. And Spirit said to me, "She's not long for this world." I have that ability sometimes. I don't like it very much, but it happens. I could see it coming for some people. So I saw it coming and I chose not to say anything, of course. But I was devastated because I took one look at her and I knew she wasn't long for this world. And I told her, I said, "I hope that you enjoy the rest of your life with your grandchildren. They're very special to see things in other people, to see goodness in other people. And you're very fortunate to have them. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here with your grandchildren." And she rolled the window down further and she leaned out and she looked into my eyes and she said, "You know," she says, "Thank you. Thank you very much." And I gave her favor and blessings and sent her on her way. It didn't occur to me at the time that seeing these girls, these twins, there's a reason for it. And for me, it's an affirmation because I kept being drawn to them and I kept going back to them and looking at them. And usually when something, Lori can tell you, when something like that happens to me with a portrait, there's a reason for it and there's a connection that's being made. But I was too overwhelmed with everything that was going on to make the connection at the time. But when I came home and was reviewing the videos, I'm like, oh my God, that's those 2 little girls. It's their energy. Spirit was coming through them, recognizing something in me, and what I was giving her was a feeling of unconditional love and hope, and telling her to, enjoy her time with her grandchildren. So, I mean, it was just a moment, one of those moments. But that's what Chesterfield does to you, folks. There's things that are going on there, and spirit moves on you in strange ways. But Charles, I just thought you'd get a kick out of that, because that's why I was so infatuated with these people. And their mom looks a lot like that Lady Audrey. It's just a coincidence, or is it? Yeah.
Wow.
His wife and him.
I got goosebumps
And
all
then,
over.
yes, and then his daughters
Whew.
appeared later.
Interesting you had goosebumps before that incident.
Yeah, Edgar Bean.
There's one in particular that I saw right here behind you. Now, if that isn't a photograph, I don't know.
No, that is a photograph.
That is okay.
Yes, so everything at eye level is precipitated portrait. Everything below that are usually photographs or hand-drawn spirit
Right.
work. So yeah, this is Howard Maxson, who was a huge benefactor to camp. And so he was the deputy sheriff in Cook County, Illinois. And so Mabel Riffle, our longest running secretary, was to do a demonstration in Cook County, Illinois. And so the sheriff tasked him with arresting her as soon as she began her demonstration.
Wow.
So, being an amazing medium as she was, she immediately connected with him. First message brought through his son, George. Don't know the extent of the message, but it must have been profound, because not only did he not arrest Mabel, but he gave her a beautiful police escort out of town when she was
Right.
finished.
This is the one you were telling us about.
And then he also became
That's
a
him.
huge donor to camp, and that's how we have the Maxson Cafeteria. And then after he died, he also left money in a trust to have our roads paved or repaved.
Wow.
Wow.
So he left camp
Quite the
a lot.
man.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that really takes your breath, doesn't it, Lori?
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. I really wish I could have been there. Wanted to experience that.
You will.
All right. I know.
No.
I hope so. All right, next one, real quick. This is the second part of that.
Yeah, there's a James that was coming. That's why I asked you if there's a James. For some reason, James is coming through.
I'm drawn
So
to
this
that
one's
one as
Rarely
well.
happens to me, but
Are
So
you
was
now?
I.
This one was donated by the Madison Avenue
Are you now,
Spiritual
sister?
Temple, which was originally in Anderson at the corner of Madison Avenue and 13th. At the time that this was donated, Pansy Cox, who was a big well-known medium here, was the pastor of that church. So yeah, the eyes are very striking in all of these, and
well, they follow you.
no matter where you look, it looks like they are
Staring at you.
looking at you, except this one.
Because, I mean, I'm all the way over.
Yeah, so there's, what's interesting is it takes life energy, in my opinion, to create these, so that life and the energy distill within these portraits. And one of the things that you may find fascinating, so we know that Emily Carson was the first wife of Dr. Carson. Rose Carson was his second wife. And so what's interesting about this portrait here is it's often recounted by many people who come here that they count the roses. So feel free to count the roses on the rose bush or in her hands. So they'll count them at one moment, and then they'll come back another time and recount them again, and there is a different amount each time.
And the one she's holding in her right arm?
So all the roses in here,
Uh-huh.
so you count them,
1, 2, 3, 4.
And then when you come back again, count them again, and there may be a different amount of roses.
Does that happen to you?
Has it happened to me? Not particularly, but
I'm seeing a dozen.
just about a month ago, there was a lady in here who counted the roses. She either went in another room and they came back and decided that she wanted to count them again. And the second time she said she counted more. So please feel free to count them.
16 or 17.
16.
16, yeah.
So you heard it here. She counted and he counted 16, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of artifacts from the Fox family. You know, the Fox sisters were
Right, the Fox sisters.
considered to be one of the founders of modern spiritualism. So we have some of their memorabilia. We've got locks of hair from Katie and Leah Fox. Photos, gloves, shawls, the Fox Taylor records.
I'm surprised. I mean, it's amazing that you all got these.
Well,
Different
Mabel Riffle,
area.
who was our secretary at the time, with Juliet Pressing, were pretty much had contacts because the Pressings sent out the Psychic News, or I'm sorry, the Psychic Observer, and so they had numbers, emails, and well, emails didn't exist. I'm sorry, addresses, and so they sent out letters and reached out to all the contacts that they knew, asking people to either put on loan or donate their artifacts or memorabilia related to spiritualism. And so many of them heeded the call and sent up and brought things over. We have more stuff now than we did when this opened in the 50s, due to more people passing after that and leaving their things to camp.
That's great, though.
And so this was the original Fox Cottage here, and Flo Cottrell was the Fox Cottage medium when, obviously long after the Fox sister had passed, but then not too long after that the Fox Cottage burned down, and this picture in the middle here was actually in the Fox Cottage, and somebody must have been inspired by spirit to take it down, and so we have it. It didn't burn down.
That's great. It's glad. I'm happy to see that you're able to have a centralized location to
Oh, yes. So this
keep
was-
all this.
So this room was originally known as the Pioneers Room because we have a lot of stuff related to spiritualist pioneers. Somewhere in here, I'm not exactly certain, is a either spectacles or glasses related to Andrew Jackson Davis, but we have some spectacles of John D. Fox, the father. We've got a shawl. So all of these things were at one point either belonged to or owned by the
Wow.
Fox family. Absolutely. Lots of beautiful things. And so
kidding.
Dr. Het is here. This is a spirit drawing of him. He was a big, huge contributor, and that's why it's called the Dr. J.E. Het Art Gallery and Museum.
And that's another spirit. Now that was in watercolor.
So that was done by John Herman Gabriel, who was a spirit artist.
Uh-huh.
So that's either, it might be either charcoal
And
or,
water mixed.
well, because it's got what? It's possible, but it looks like there's like,
Oh, that's rubbing. That's rubbed. Yeah, that is pastels or something.
absolutely. And so we have a larger
Look at those
collection of
eyes.
John Herman Gabriel's spirit art at this room over here.
I just can't believe how portrait-like they are. I mean, it's just mess. Somebody
we
did
know.
Abraham Lincoln.
Well, we know spirit can do absolutely anything that they want to. Let me
What-
look.
Abraham Lincoln was a huge
Sarah.
spiritualist.
Don't tell
Yes,
me
that's right.
Lincoln coming through. That's just.
Seances in the White House, kids.
You're standing there and it manifests itself on camera.
It's a true story.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Would just be
Incredible.
Oval Office.
This is a collage. It's a three-dimensional collage.
that's just a collage.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling him.
So,
What about Lincoln?
so no, that's not a precipitated portrait.
Okay, I was going to say,
Probably
woo!
a print of some kind.
Just pause
And
for a
that
second,
is
Lori.
a student drawing.
Just for a second.
Mhm.
Loretta and some of the others that have made comments. They speak to the energy. I think this is the way Charles explained it to me. The energy essence. It's not that the soul is still is captured in the paintings. It's an aspect of energy of the spirit that was coming through the portrait or the pictures. It makes them so lifelike. And when you're there seeing it, you can actually see the pores on their skin. And I've never seen that in a painting before. I've never seen that kind of detail where you can actually show the skin pores of a person. And you're drawn to their eyes. You're just pulled in. The energy just sucks you right into their eyes. And they're communicating with you as if they're still there and alive. They're speaking to you. And sometimes they have messages for you, and I did get some. But that's why they have that quality, and that's why that energy is so strong. It's because it's their imprint for eternity on canvas, or for however long it lasts. And some of the pigmentation that's used will last for a very, very long time. So they're there, and they're not going anywhere, and they're sucking you in while the whole time you're there. Go ahead, Lori.
Well,
Oh, now this is more geometry-like.
yeah, geometry or psychic artwork.
Psychic artwork, yeah.
So the West Gallery, the one we're standing in, is dedicated to Camp Chesterfield mediums or residents. So it's designated to be the Camp Chesterfield Historic Room. This room contains works of many noted Camp Chesterfield mediums. The gifts of both mental and physical mediumship are spotlighted, as well as the history of camp here as well. Oh yeah, I'm planning to kind of get all of this. So we don't mind you taking photos or recordings as long as you don't sell it. For
No.
Profitable.
This is for Meg, for when she comes on, to tell, and we'll take just
Oh.
little teeny bits of it.
Oh my God, absolutely.
It's for Chesterfield.
So this is all spirit art here.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley Matrunick was very popular in the 70s and 80s. This is another John Herman Gabriel, spirit artwork.
Right.
Absolutely incredible.
Just amazing. And all these different artists have this ability to channel
Oh, absolutely.
that energy.
All of them were influenced by spirit. Hi there. How are you?
Yeah, there's some apports.
It's
Yeah, you know what
amazing
got
how
me?
much there is of it.
Oh, there's a lot there.
And the size of those apports. The sheer size of them was amazing. That anything that big could come through. I could see a coin or a rock or a stone or a little necklace or something, but they got the whole head of Nefertiti in there, a whole bust of Nefertiti.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Quality.
That's cool.
Here you go,
So it
Charles.
is on sacred land too, sacred Indian land as well. So that's got to have a lot to do with the energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're going to see there's a whole section dedicated to the Indian, and their energy comes through, spirit comes through and gives messages to the medium. Golly, this gallery is at Camp Chesterfield in Indiana, in the town of Chesterfield, Indiana. The Spiritualist camp.
Matrunick. Grey Dove Guide to Edith Louise Nichols. See, a lot of these people have American Indian guides.
Very common.
Running Water.
Was very, very.
Mediumship of Stanley Matrunick. He's really tapping into the spirits here on this camp. Big Chief. John Herman Gabriel. The message was given to Mrs. Gabriel by Rev. Mary Wing in June of 1965. Quote, I am part of the earth and part of the sea. I had to be a part of the leadership of Custer's last stand. It was a must to save my tribe. Wow. They're telling their stories as they come through. There's a sculpture. Headdress. Indian pilgrimage. This magnificent scene of an Indian pilgrimage to the ceremonial ritual was seen clairvoyantly by the artist and medium Albert von Strode.
Albert von Strode?
Yeah.
That was done by him?
Yep.
So Albert von Strode was definitely an artist and a medium, and he also was very good with doing flower messages as well. Giving readings and using flowers and energy. So
Wow.
yes. Huh.
It's my family name, Vaughn. Lots of Vaughns in
that's
this
the
world. Yep. Yep. But some of
I
these.
think his name is spelt wrong. I think it's V-O-N. Yeah, V-O-N.
Vaughn.
Yeah.
V-O-N.
Yes,
Yeah.
von Strode.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, a lot of these stories that the spirits are actually giving a message, telling their history a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Probably shouldn't pull that out of here, but I'll put it here for now.
Gabriel.
Yeah, so John Herman Gabriel was a spirit artist, and he used his last name. So this is our Native American section here. Obviously, you can see the
Yeah.
Native American spirit art, that's authentic headdress. Now, Chief Mensis was a resident and staff medium here, and this is his authentic war bonnet.
That's quite a war bonnet. Wow.
He was a naturologist and a medium. And in this case over here, Princess Lone Feather, that's his wife, and this is her authentic Native American garb as well. And in this photo, you can see him wearing his headdress, and you can see her wearing this Native American.
Yeah, she's tiny.
Oh, yes.
She was really tiny, but still, what a beautiful dress.
Oh, absolutely. Then we have some Native American artifacts here found in Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. And this section, which is my favorite, is slates and apports and some card writing as well in these cases.
Apports,
Apports.
they just appeared out of nowhere.
They just appear out of nowhere that spirit brought, either in seances or sittings or readings.
And you keep them in here. What a great idea.
Oh yeah, these were donated by various mediums. Now this Nefertiti statue was an apport. And you know, mediumship, physical phenomena takes a lot of energy. So it was done in a seance between 1955 and 1960 through the mediumship of Lillian D. Johnson, who was a staff medium here, but also a resident out of Florida. It was apported for a gentleman by the name of Ralph Hycock, who was Nellie Curry's husband. And so Lillian D. Johnson was an amazing mental medium, physical medium. She had a lot of gifts.
I can't, and this just came through.
Came through her in a sitting or a seance.
That's one huge freaking object.
Oh yeah. And so we know that it takes a lot of energy to bring through a small little stone or
Yeah, I was just
cameo
gonna
or
say.
something. And so, yeah,
Can you
something like,
imagine that kind of energy for something like that to come through?
oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Now,
amazing.
Brian, didn't you get what I think you got the same thing I got out of it? Is our history of American Indians are always depicted in a certain light that makes them appear savage all the time, or angry all the time, and they had a right to be. But what their spirits are bringing through is family, right?
Oh yeah, beautiful messages. Messages from Mother Earth, Father Sky. Just
Hmm.
they knew how to tap in to the energies around them.
I heard that drumming as well. I was
Yeah.
pretty sure that that was their way of letting you know their presence was with us or with you when you were viewing this. So that doesn't surprise me a bit. But I agree with you, Deborah Sloan. I heard drumming as well.
Well, I didn't hear any when we were there,
No,
but
I didn't either.
I heard it
Mhm.
on the
You
video
heard it now,
real.
didn't you?
Yeah.
That's called an EVP, kids.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I was looking at one of the portraits with Lori on StreamYard when we were going over these videos, and I was just looking at that one of that James. And as I was talking to Lori and saying, there's just something about him, turns out I do have a connection, but I don't want to go into that in detail because we need to move on. But the point is that when I said, I know who he is finally, I now understand who he represents in time, in other incarnations. This big, loud crashing, something crashed on the floor next to me, and I wasn't near, I was like several inches away from it. It was an object that holds a magnifying glass. It's a real heavy metal arm and a stand, and it was just sitting there on the floor on top of everything else. No dog, no cat. My feet were all the way over here. There was nothing there, and as we were talking, wham! The whole thing had come up in the air and gone over this way and slammed and fell on the floor next to me. And Lori goes, "What the hell was that?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I look down and I pick it up and I'm like, "Oh my God." I pick up this huge metal object that was like against the wall over there.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Welcome
What
to my
is that
world.
about?
Yeah, they're letting us know that they're there and with us
Mhm.
always. Yeah, I believe that. Okay, Teresa, we have the aura graphs,
Yes.
and that will be it of the videos.
Yes,
Okay,
that's it.
here we go.
And then we're going to go through Meg's stuff. And
Yes.
yep,
More graphite.
Charles is saying
And so the picture
Meg's
would-
going to be in that
would form,
museum.
by
She should be.
Spirit's hand or through the
Mhm.
will of Spirit.
So it can be portraits, it can be cards,
So it could be
or
portraits,
slate.
it could be slates, it could be cards.
Look at this. The Indian headdress and outline of the face, that's on a slate. With different colored chalk.
Mhm.
So they can basically manifest on anything.
Well, they can manifest on anything. I knew a lady from Michigan who would sometimes have marks appear on her walls at home. Little messages, and she'd have it painted over, and then a week or two later after it would dry, and it
The
would,
only thing you ever heard of when I was growing up as a Catholic was that you had these demonic etchings on the wall. They were always negative, and they were always telling you you're damned, or it was always foul language. Never heard about anything natural like this or beautiful.
oh my God! And a lot of these messages, if you read them, they're basically checking in on you, making sure you're doing okay.
Making sure you're okay, yeah.
And these slates here, what I find fascinating is the handwriting is all different. Absolutely. So Mary Langley Beatty, who was an amazing medium in the 30s and 40s, it says, "What a joy in coming into, I don't know, brings God, something God's gift is for us all. And so it's a beautiful, uplifting message.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's truly
With different handwriting, slightly
and with
different.
handwriting.
Uh-huh.
And Pierre Keeler, who did those cards on that wall, if you look at it, all the handwriting is different.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
So-
So different spirits basically put their message on here.
Well, you can definitely tell.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
different handwriting.
Absolutely.
Like different people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Different spirits coming through.
Well, so this is a Native American coming through. We come help Chief and Chiefess and whoever that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. The handwriting's different, the signatures. It's just incredible.
And that was his name, Pierre Keeler?
Yeah, so Pierre L.O.A. Keeler. We actually have his rocking chair in the middle gallery, the one that's sitting over there, that he used to use when he did seances and circles and things.
Wow.
George Christie Pierre L.O.A. Keeler's guide was known to thousands.
Yeah, George Christie.
Mm-hmm.
Pierre
No
Keeler.
cloth or cover over the slate.
In full light above the table and with no cloth or, yeah, so it's amazing.
And sometimes precipitated on as many as 5 slates at a time.
Oh yeah, so he had a lot of amazing energy.
But that means he was channeling all 5 different spirits at one time, all doing their own thing on a slate.
So all he had to do was provide the energy, and the spirits were able to move the ectoplasm and the energy into...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Now, there was a medium by the name of Gladys Strome, who is over here. She would do a demonstration of spirit card writing in the cathedral, and also in our chapel as well. And she'd have a basket with cards and pens and pencils in there. And she would walk down the aisle, calling out names and giving messages, holding a basket in her hands. So she'd hold the basket in her hands, so she would have her scarf that she would pull off from around her neck, put it on top of everything, walking down the aisle, giving messages out to, and so then she would turn around and then walk back to the front, giving messages, and once she got back to the front, she was done. She took the scarf out, wrapped it around her neck, and then cards
Wow.
appeared with messages and writings all over them.
Well, there's nothing you can't poke holes in that.
Well, she was incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Now, Gladys was an amazing mental medium. She was also an amazing, outstanding physical medium. She could do trumpet levitation and voices, materialization of spirits in the room, apports, spirit card writing, so she did it all. She pretty much had all of the gifts, but she was such a humble and loving woman.
Mm-hmm.
And after her demonstration, she would always say, "Did I do okay? Was that okay?"
Aw.
Yeah.
Wanted to get the feedback, yeah.
Oh, well, she wanted to make sure that she served
Right.
the people well
Yeah.
enough
Mhm.
with satisfaction. I mean, that just is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So here's a spirit photographer.
Yes, Gus Norman, definitely a spirit photographer. And then, so the next few sections here are all spirit photography, where either he or someone else would take a photo of somebody, and the spirits of their loved ones and spirit guides would appear on the film once it was developed.
Yeah, this is where history, there's always 1 or 2 bad apples in a barrel to ruin it for everybody else. Same thing with paranormal
Oh,
investigation.
absolutely.
You go on all these people have tremendous skill in paranormal investigating. It only takes 1 to pull a prank, and then, everything's blown out of the water. But
Oh, yes.
it's not true that everything, but it came out because of so many naysayers.
Well, with any profession, you have the good guys and the bad guys.
Yep. Look at this.
Yep, so that is a sequence of pictures that was taken, and the Native American materialized on the film.
Yeah, look, it started out this way.
Mm-hmm.
Then it starts materializing more and more. And it builds. Then it finally comes out.
And in this one, you can see him fully materialized and standing on the ground with his feet. Because
Yeah.
this one, his feet's not
His
fully
feet
spread.
aren't fully there, and now they are.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm sure in the next one after that, completely disappeared. Yeah.
Well,
Truly fascinating.
so the artist does a series. He does so much on one, and then he pops up the other and keeps going. Is that it?
I'm not exactly sure, but that probably sounds right.
Yeah,
Especially in that sequence of photos.
yeah. Materialization. Look at this.
Yeah, so that was done in a seance, and they just took photos randomly, and you can see the ectoplasm and the energy.
Oh, I would so love to be part of a seance. That would be so cool.
Oh, yes.
Never been to one.
Oh, my goodness. Trumpet seances
I
and
would
things
love it.
are truly incredible. If you ever get the chance to witness one,
Yeah.
it really is remarkable. I used to sit with a group in Michigan for about 8.5, 9 years, and we received some of the most amazing, outstanding spirit voices and
I'd like to experience it
materializations
with
and
Charles
things
and
in our
Terry and
circle.
Meg and all of
Just
them.
the four of us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's some trumpets you were telling us
So we
about.
definitely have some spirit trumpets there.
Wow.
One of them in there is like made out of a composite material, but usually they're made out of aluminum.
Mm-hmm. I see that one in the back, yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, do you make your own?
We have a gentleman who makes them for us, and we sell them in our bookstore. So if you want to purchase, I think there are 2 left in the bookstore.
Wow.
Get them while they last, because they are going fast.
I'm sure.
And so these belonged to, that big old monster one in the back belonged to Suzanne Greer, who is a medium.
Mm-hmm.
This one belonged to Reverend Johnson.
I'll tell you why I asked the question. They say when you're doing a dream catcher, the Indians say, make it yourself. It's very important that you make it yourself because it's your connection, your energy going into the creation of it. And I was just wondering if it meant
Well,
some of the same thing when you're talking about a trumpet.
Well, not everybody has the gift or ability to put metal pieces together. And so I don't think it would be a problem if you purchased one, but as long as you sat with it and blended your energy with the trumpet, then you can
Yeah.
make it a part. It's
Like you
it
do
can-
with your pendulum or your
Right, it
rods.
can become an extension
Yeah.
of you.
Makes sense. Yep.
Absolutely. And then we have some other various trinkets and gifts. Now, the house that I currently live in was at one point owned by Reverend Nevison.
Mm-hmm.
That is her trumpet. She was also our manager of our bazaar and gift shop when we had that open at the Lutheran Memorial, or the...
Those vases
Luther
are
Memorial
gorgeous. Look at these vases.
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. Donated by Reverend Mabel Riffle.
Wow. Beautiful.
And we
Yeah.
have some more spirit art back here. Done by Trudy Lamb. This one was also done by... I'm not sure who that was.
Beautiful.
But that was a spirit guide.
I like this.
Yes, it's really pretty.
All the movement in there too. And the different textures. Yeah.
I really like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Spirit leaving the body.
Absolutely.
It's mind-blowing
Okay.
to think that this is even possible, right? Yep. I'm going to go ahead and
Yeah,
remove
we'll
that.
close that out.
Thank you.
Yes, it's mind-boggling.
So let's get into Meg's art. This is really
Yes.
something, and it's real similar to what we're seeing on there. But this one is a moth on feather, And Meg, if you want to talk about how what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I enjoy doing the most currently is painting on feathers. And as I said earlier, spirit gives me images, and I paint them on there. There's one that we'll get to that I thought it was done, and they told me no, it needed more. So I just listen and I paint them.
Awesome. Here's the next one. Looks like a hummingbird. Beautiful coloring too. And what really cool use of the actual feathers for the wings. I noticed that, where it just kind of splits in the
Yep.
feather itself, and you actually utilize that space to give it the impression of the two sets of wings.
Yep, of the movement of it, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
fascinating. And then here's my favorite. I love the fox. This is really cool. Sly fox out there. And then I love this one as well, the tulip with the bee. And
So
the
this
bee,
is the one that I thought it was done, and they said, no, you have more. And so, yeah.
Where do you get these feathers?
So they are all, they're turkey feathers that are painted to look like other types of feathers. So they're humanely gathered. They're not stolen off of any creature.
you're not running around plucking those turkeys, are you?
You're not plucking wings.
No, I am not plucking anything. But in all honesty, I order these off of Amazon, and then there's some other wholesale sites that I use that are humanely sourced wholesale sites.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Now, this next one is a native canvas nature rubbing. And to me, this is really fascinating. The different layers, you can see different things happening all at once in this. And can you explain how that's made? I mean, how did you make
Absolutely.
it? Okay.
So I'm one of those people that, sometimes, yes, it's us and it's our hands, and spirit works through us. This is not. This is me holding the canvas itself and going outside and literally rubbing on trees, plants, other pieces of nature, and things manifest through. So for me, right in the middle, like that lower part, is the face of a Native American.
Yeah, I see the face.
Just very, very strongly in there. And he was probably the first thing that popped out. And so, yeah.
Wow. Interesting. And then we've got this one, a Japanese ink. And I really like this one. I really, really love this.
Yeah, so that's just drops of ink on water. This was done during the Festival of Neith, which is an Egyptian festival. And so for me, what I see, and as you mentioned earlier, everybody sees their own thing because it's never for me. This is one that was for me. And so there's very strongly the head of a cow up in the left-hand corner with the eye and the one.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And so Neith is represented as the mother, as a bovine. So it was very special when it came through as it did.
Wow. There's so much depth and
I get creation
layers. Yeah.
Meg, I get a feeling of birth or creation.
I can see that too. Absolutely.
Fascinating. And then this next one is called Panda.
This is one of my favorite ones. It's in my seance room. I love it with my whole heart. It just makes me happy every time I look at it. This is one of the formats that is probably the easiest to teach people and the easiest to do. This is what I do off of platform, just because I can do them ahead of time. And I put the paint on the paper wherever they tell me, and whatever colors they pick, I fold it, put my energy into it, open it, and all kinds of magical things happen.
Wow. It's got a lot of texture to it. It's really fascinating to look at because there's so much. You kind of get lost in it.
Yeah, what gets me is the Indian faces again.
Yep, there's some ravens in there.
I see the ravens.
Bluebirds.
I just saw that.
Yep.
Oh, Raven. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I see
yeah.
the crow. There's the crow in the blue on the outside of it there. I can see the eye of the crow
Mm-hmm.
in the blue in the middle part there on the ends. Wow,
But do you see how it
fascinating.
makes up the chin? Look at the chin. See how that part of the bird makes up the nose on a face?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you have two other faces further in that have
Mm-hmm.
the light yellow hair.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a feminine face.
Mm-hmm.
You see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. There's a lot of depth to it. And then this ritual smudging. Now, this is interesting to me as well. That does look like feathers, like a headdress type thing.
Uh, yes, so it is a Native American smudging tool, and so they normally come 3 to 5 feathers together, and then it's used to cleanse auras, to cleanse homes, and it's used in a lot of their rituals. And so this is
Yeah,
one
smudging. Mm-hmm.
where somebody had sent me one of their guides. Just through their meditation and my meditation, I picked up on it, and this is what was drawn from that meditation.
Wow, interesting. And then this is very interesting as well. This is a trance red raven.
Yes, so that's my Native American guide. He is in there very strongly, along with some other stuff. But yes, this was allowing, like automatic writing, as Sophia had mentioned earlier, it's like automatic writing where you allow them to use your vessel. You go into a light
Mm-hmm.
trance, and
So you were in trance with this, a light
mhm.
trance?
Yep. And I
Okay.
just had all the different
Yep.
utensils laid in front of me, and it's whatever they chose.
Wow. Yeah, it's very complex. And you could just stare at these for a long time and really like lose yourself in them. It's just fascinating. Awesome.
It kind of reminds me of Picasso, some of
Mm-hmm.
Picasso's work. And I was telling
My
Lori,
favorite artist. Mm-hmm.
mine too,
Love
one of my
Picasso.
most
Yeah.
favorites. And I was
Yep.
telling her the other day, he doesn't claim to be a spiritualist of any kind or have any kind of belief system. In fact, he's actually claims self-proclaimed agnostic atheist. He just
Mm-hmm.
religion doesn't turn him on. But the one thing that did influence him, that opened him up to be what he became, was cave art in France. He went into these caves of early man and saw how they were communicating through symbology and the freedom of the way they
It
drew.
inspired him. Yeah,
Yeah,
most definitely.
the
Now,
spirit spoke to him. You know.
yeah, Meg, when you did the panda, this one, I do something similar to that. And I do like an acrylic pour, and I've got a couple to show you on that, and I wanted to share
Yeah,
this with you, get your impression of it.
Absolutely. Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you.
it's one of my favorites.
And then here's another one.
And that first one, I immediately felt like wild horses, like running
Mm,
through wide open spaces. It's fantastic.
Yep,
you got that too, Sophia?
you did for sure.
Wow.
Mhm.
So what I do is I just use a canvas. I throw some acrylic paint on there, and then I just pick up the canvas and I roll it around and I move it and I just adjust it. And then this kind, I do the same thing, but then I took a probe. Something prompted me to take a probe and kind of pull the paint through there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. And then this one, the same type of thing, just a little different.
It's like little jellyfish. Like,
Yeah, kind of does.
I went with neurons, but I see
Yeah,
jellyfish.
there you
Neurons
go.
and atoms, and
Yes,
neurons. Yep.
yeah, that makes sense. Also, too, when I'm writing in my journal, and if anyone isn't writing in a journal, you really could be writing in a journal
Agreed.
because so much comes out. And I have this geometric shape that I do. in my journals, and Teresa wanted me to share this with you, and so this was kind of going out of my comfort zone to even share this with you guys, but
Lori.
yeah, but woohoo, go Lori. Uh, so I would just sit with my journal, and whatever I would start drawing would come out, and then it would get intense, and I would lose myself in this. And then I could, after I drew everything, I would go back and put the explanation in to each part of it. And this is 6/11/2022, and then it started to progress, and that's July 2022. And then it would move into things like this, and just I would just get a feeling to just go to my journal and just doodle, scribble whatever came out, and this is what came out. And when I first had my awakening, it was very similar to that. And I was inspired by Eric, my spirit guide. When you trust the universe, you trust yourself.
Right.
And this inspired me to pull that together, and that was really something.
Hey, Lori, I
And
like what you did across the top there. It was like 80808080.
oh yes, yeah.
See,
Don't
for
ask me why.
Well, I started automatic writing at 11 before I knew what it was.
Okay.
To self-soothe, because I had an interesting childhood. Love my parents. But I would do like an 8 across the top to kind of fall into
That got me in the flow. That's exactly right,
Yep,
actually. I
like a
didn't realize that
preamble.
till later. Yeah, it was kind of priming the pump, so to speak.
Right.
And then once I got done drawing that, then that's when the rest of it came about.
Like
Well, notice the
download,
couple of
download.
symbols at the very top there was the 80.
Yeah,
Right.
80, yes. Yep. I know we're running out of time, so I'm kind of quickly going through these. Same thing here. Just I had to quickly jot it down. I didn't worry about whether I was in the lines or not, but it was just coming so fast that that's how it came out. And that was January of 2022. And then this came in June of 2023. And then this one, the 13 levels of initiation, the Atlantean codes, and it's truth, self-love, acceptance, beauty, knowledge, wisdom, wholeness, wellness, divinity, strength, clarity, empowerment, and freedom. And this was powerful. That really spoke to me. I have just a couple more here. Then this one was really interesting. It didn't have a whole lot to put with this, like verbally or to try to break it down. It just was what it was, and it was kind of cool. Just a lot going on there.
You know what, Lori? I
yeah.
see you. It seems like, at least what you're sharing, you're very active in June and July. I've noticed that there are particular parts of the year for me where the compulsion to engage in this activity is a lot stronger. And for me, it's May is when.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay. Now this is different. This just was like, go, just do it. So, and it took me about 10 minutes. And then the next thing I know, I'm looking at it going, what in the heck is that? So it's just kind of free flow.
Put on some 3D glasses. That'd be pretty slick.
Yeah. Or like, if you use like iridescent or that kind of a paint and then hit it with a black light, that would be really something.
You know what I went, because I work with flame messages like by myself, because I have not, gotten that far with Camp Chesterfield. But when I hold them up to the light and look through them, I've seen some pretty interesting things.
Yep. Same thing here. I just, as I'm writing in my journal, this stuff comes out. And a lot of this has to do with show concepts and things that we're working on. And this is where a lot of it comes from. It stems from this. And then this one was really cool. The expansion, the connection, the Christos spirit, the new ideas, and then that culmination of it all coming together was kind of fascinating. And then they get more intense. Now I notice this is 7/29/2023, and now it's becoming a lot more intense, and there's just more to it. And then these figures on the left here are more like my lessons, and then the journey, the guidance that comes in, the direction, and then the energy from spirit. So that was really something. And this is like my latest. This is August 5th, 2023. And this one I feel a lot of balance with. I feel balanced with the soul, the mind, the body, and spirit, and the journey, and the focus of it. So this feels like a more balanced energy now. So it's kind of you kind of see the progression, which is
Yeah, do you see
interesting.
how it started out very simple with one or two symbols, and it's grown to a full language? And
Yeah.
it's kind of as she has grown and expanded on her journey from a year ago to where she is now. Each one of these gets more and more complex, but yet there's consistent symbology. It's just laid out in a different way, and to me, there's a message there about her exponential growth over the past
Yeah.
year.
Really interesting. Anyway, sharing that with you all. So cool.
Nice.
And then Teresa, this is what is
These
this?
are
An aura?
These are called auragraphs. It's a type of art form that mediums use to express things through symbology.
Mm-hmm.
Every person has an aura energy. As Grandpa Brian showed us his aura
Mm-hmm.
photograph
Yes.
that Heather did of
Mm-hmm.
him.
Yep.
Well, instead of
There's
just
one.
seeing the person's aura
Mm-hmm.
as a egg shape,
Mm-hmm.
the spirit comes through and guides the choreographer, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
to work with colors and energy flow and
Yeah.
symbols. A lot of symbols. You'll
Yes.
see faces here. A spirit is trying to come through,
Mm-hmm.
but it's originally known as symbolic art. It's an
Mm-hmm.
automatic drawing and coloring process associated uh, with a person's present, past, and potential.
Right.
So it's done for a person as a reading. They'll do like a psychic reading on you. They'll get a
Mm-hmm.
feel for your aura, either over the phone or in person, and they
Mm-hmm.
will put it to canvas, and they
Mm-hmm.
will let spirit lead them to create whatever they come up with. And every symbol has a specific meaning to the person that they're doing a reading to.
Yeah.
It's either
It's
about a
really
past life or something current.
Yeah, really fascinating. Okay, so we're 2 hours into this. I'd like to wrap this up. Before I do, and I appreciate everybody's patience because this was a long one, but there was a lot of information to go over.
There's a lot to go
So,
over, yeah.
yeah, so I shared, Teresa, didn't I? I just shared out of my journal, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only fair that you share your art as well. And I have a couple pieces of yours, and this is one of my favorites. I love this.
Aww.
We are one.
Yeah.
That's what I get out of that. And you're quite the artist, Teresa. I know you
It's
downplay it.
actually soulmates from through time, through
There
eternity.
you go. There you
That's
go.
cool.
This is beautiful.
That's
Looks
my
like
shamanic higher self.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Multiple
Looks
Big.
like somewhere in
incarnations.
Arizona. Yeah.
She's her hair, her skin color, everything is multiple
Reminds
incarnations.
me of your spirit guide. That's how I
Mm-hmm.
see your spirit guide.
Yeah,
One of
she's
your
like
spirit
that.
guides. This is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, by the way. This is incredible.
That's
You
my
are.
mom's dream. My
Mm-hmm.
mom dreamt of her lineage and
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to put it to canvas.
Mm-hmm.
And she liked the Thomas Kincaid style,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't quite get his light, his sense of
Yeah.
light that he does. But I
Mm-hmm.
love Kincaid as
That's
well, and
beautiful. Yeah.
I do impressionism,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're seeing with this are little glass chips
Yeah,
to
this
give it
is
sparkle.
gorgeous. I love the falls. I love the light coming off the mountains in the back. That's really pretty. It's
That's
beautiful.
great
Dangerous.
mothers, great
Mhm.
mothers,
I know. I
great
was like,
mothers
what?
world.
Who knew?
Happy
She's
little
like, oh
trees
no,
and everything.
we're not going to show them. I'm like, oh, like hell, we're not. I'm showing them.
Overruled.
Now this one is interesting.
That's a copy.
Immediate, yeah. So immediately, I felt like this was like an African type thing, but then I quickly realized that it's more about spirit. It's like a spirit body in a sense.
It's called
Um,
Spirits in the Forest.
Yeah.
Forest Spirits. And
Yeah.
it's a copy
Mm-hmm.
of something I saw in a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that modern art uses this different panels.
Yeah.
And I took it to have it done, and they said, you can do this yourself.
Yeah.
And so I got out the acrylics, and I
Mhm.
started working with the different,
Yeah.
and it took me 3 or 4 tries.
Yeah.
But I had actually seen this image somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it wasn't necessarily, but it was more African. The other one was more African.
Ah,
When it-
okay. So there is a little African
So-
flavor going on there.
yeah, but it's
Okay.
they're really trees
Mm-hmm.
that have come alive. They're trees.
Okay.
It's a tree spirit that was connected.
Right.
With me.
Gotcha. Anyway, fascinating stuff. Definitely was a great show, you guys. Meg, I want to thank you so much for joining us and for your patience as well. That was a lot to sit through and go through. We greatly appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Such a pleasure, and I would love to meet you someday at Camp Chesterfield and experience all that you guys did. So,
Meg,
yeah.
how can people get a hold of you to
Yes.
Connect with you and find out about signing up for classes? And
Yeah, the easiest way is going to the Camp Chesterfield website, and there's a Camp Mediums drop down, and all my information is on there. Feel free to contact me with any questions.
Right on. Can I ask if you could give our soul tribe a message? Is there anything coming through for you, or spending this little bit of time with us? Are you picking up on anything? I was just curious about that.
It was really interesting because listening with everybody, talking through all of the different things, there's a great connection that, well, the 4 of you specifically have that goes back through some past lifetimes as well, but it's a much higher solar connection as well. You were all meant to be where you are right now in the space that you're in to allow the new work and the new ideology to come through in a unique format because the world needs it.
Yep. You're
thank
spot
you.
on. You're spot on
Thank
that. Yes, that's something
Thank
that I'm
you.
aware of.
I
Yeah.
love that.
definitely
Beautiful.
affirmation.
Yeah, no
and,
doubt about it.
and Lori, your
Yes.
next journal needs to be like a sketch journal and one without the lines.
Agreed.
That's where
That's
they're
interesting.
taking you next. So
Well, that's
a
interesting because I
no-line
just
journal.
bought one.
Okay, good.
Just bought one, so that's confirmation. No lines, out of the box thinking.
That's
Just go
right.
with the flow. The thing that I was thinking about doing was colored chalk.
Be cool.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. Even just moving into colored pencils too. It'll give you some different dimensions working with both of them.
Okay. Wonderful.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's interesting that you picked up on it because I had just got one, and I will be doing that. Absolutely. Yes. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody on the panel. Grandpa Brian, Sophia,
Yes,
we love you
something-
so much. Thank
Brian
you.
has something to say. as a
Oh, go
remark.
ahead, Brian.
I know it's not till tomorrow, but happy birthday, Lori.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
was just getting ready to do it.
Leo.
Tomorrow's my
Woohoo!
birthday. Yep.
Happy
Yep.
birthday.
Thank you very much.
Birthday!
I appreciate that. My 60th
job, Brian.
birthday.
It's her
Milestone.
big 60. Her big
Yeah.
You should only
60.
be
Hard to
day of
believe.
that. They lied in your birth certificate or something. Believe it.
My mom's here. You can ask her.
That's all right.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Too
look at
cool. All right. Well, everybody in chat, thank you all for hanging in there. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it. This was something very different, very unique. And we sure enjoyed bringing it to you. You all have a most wonderful weekend and enjoy yourselves and be the love, be the light, and peace and love to everyone. And again, thank you to all who participated tonight. Appreciate you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.